This video is brought to you by Destination Canada's spectacular Northwest Territories and Travel Yukon. If you could go back in time to your 25-year-old self, knowing everything you know today, what would you say?
I wouldn't go back to being 25 for anybody's money.
I was not happy. I ended up in the hospital because of the stress.
A lot of people in the city are not happy.
If you are miserable doing what you're doing, take a leap of faith and do something different.
In this video, I'll be in Northern Canada, asking strangers between the ages of 40 and 94 what advice they would give to their younger self. Of all the places I've filmed interviews in, these are some of the most open, friendly, and interesting people I've ever spoken to. So I really think you're going to get a lot of value out of this one. All right, let's get into it. How old are you?
I'm 90 years old, and in another 3 weeks, I will be 91.
What does it feel like to be almost 91?
Just like another day. You're opening one door and you're closing another.
It's always about thinking positive, being active, trying to go to bed early, which I can't do as an aurora hunter. The mind, of course. Thinking positive, thinking young, thinking healthy.
It doesn't feel any different for me. And they say you're supposed to be wiser, but I don't think that's really the case.
At 40, you figure you're supposed to have all the things. You're supposed to have the house, the partner, the fence, the dog, all those things. And at 40, I don't have those things. I had those things at one point, and I just don't now. So I've already succeeded, and now it's on to the next adventure.
How old are you?
94.
You look younger than 90.
Well, they say life begins at 40, and that was when I came to Yellowknife. I came up in 1968 and ran a flying school here, and I have been here 54 years.
What does it feel like to be 94?
I have a hard time realizing that I am that old. You just live another year.
Did you guys say that you feel better than most people who are around your age?
Depends on the day, but I think we're in an area where it's more positive than a lot of places where people are living.
Yeah, and just the nature of where we live. I mean, it's a great place. I think that gives us an advantage to feel more positive every day.
What brought you to where you are right now? What is that story that you both have?
For me, I think it was the overall need to heal. I spent almost 20 years in the city, and the city can be hard on people. And it was good to come home and start my healing. And now it's time to share that with other people.
What was the hard part of the city that you were talking about?
A lot of people in the city are not happy. I think people get caught up in keeping up with the Joneses, high-paced careers, and the more you make, the more you spend kind of thing. And I think just getting out of the rat race was what I needed to do.
I retired early. I retired at 52. I never really thought I'd be kind of living off grid on a houseboat, lugging my own water, but yeah, here we are, and I'm pretty happy with where I am. I mean, when I was working in an office, there was lots of rewarding things about it, but there were many days where I felt, is this really what I want to be doing with my life, sitting behind a desk, staring at a computer screen, when there was kind of a big lake and a big world out there to be out there seeing and enjoying. It's going by quick, and there's some big adventures I want to get under my belt before I get too old to do them.
And what if you had, maybe 15 years ago, you had switched and you had quit your job? What do you think life would have looked like?
It would have looked a lot different, but probably a lot better. I think I would have had not as much money in the bank, but a lot more really neat experiences and memories and some cool relationships that, in my mind, are way more valuable than having a big bank account. I'm into collecting that kind of stuff now as opposed to putting money aside.
Okay, so tell us, why did we stop here?
As a kid, we used to stop here and be able to do some viewing with a beautiful canyon. We'd sometimes need to refill our water, and this is a nice flowing creek. Best water in the world. It's a fountain of youth right here, so.
There's not too many places in the world where you can do this. Beautiful. I'm not a water expert, but this is great water.
You look younger.
Thank you. I drank from the fountain of youth.
That's right. No, but this is what the Yukon, there's still beautiful, pure places like this.
What's it like living in the Northwest Territories? You guys live in a part of the world I would say most people don't know much about. What is life like here?
Whenever I leave Yellowknife, I can't wait to come home. So this is home. Our whole family loves being around nature. Right here, it's just at your fingertips. It's all around. You don't have far to go. We're just surrounded by it for snowmobiling, boating, hiking. It just has everything that I need to be happy.
I came up here in '84 for 2 weeks, and then I gave up leaving. It's a very vibrant town. It's multicultural. Everybody knows everyone. It's small enough that There's a sense of community that you don't get in a bigger city. There's so much depersonalization. Everyone's in their little cell phone world. It's that human personal contact.
In our language, we call it yake nakas. The sky is stirring. People are realizing we have a beautiful country here in Canada. Let's go check out different parts of it. It's like an oasis in the Arctic. It is.
Can you describe what the Yukon is like, living here is like?
It's a beautiful place to live. I enjoy people. I enjoy going out into the wilderness. I enjoy hunting and fishing, and this place offers you that.
I think it's, again, going back to the beauty and lack of population. And I think to come and see that is amazing. To just, be in nature. Be without millions of people around.
The animals far outnumber the people here. That's a unique thing in the world. And it's magical. Kluane just has a really nice vibe to it. And if you give yourself enough time to not just drive through it, but actually take a minute, and like everybody feels that if you spend time here. And I think that's a unique part of it, right?
We can't understand it till you're here.
Right, that you have to come see it, but it's special, yeah.
What do I need to know about your upbringing to understand who you are today?
That I was raised in the traditional Dene lifestyle, that I was raised by my grandparents. They were my mother figure, my father figure. That's what gave me my power, I guess I would say, my body of armor, my suit of armor, to protect me for the challenges as I was growing up. And I went through a lot as a young Indigenous person, a lot of racism, a lot of seeing opportunities pass by to other people that are not Indigenous. It's a lot of challenges, for sure. But that stuff made me stronger because I did excel in spite of those things. For some reason, I had that intestinal fortitude to excel better and prove them wrong. I feel blessed to be raised the way I was raised, yeah.
What is a truth that you've learned about life that you wish more people understood?
That everybody's different. You have to accept that everybody's different and then just live amongst each other. Like, it was really hard growing up because there's lots of different people that came and they treat us differently, like because of our skin or whatever, and we have to try to live amongst each other. So just to have to accept each other as different people.
If you could go back in time knowing everything you know today, and you could talk to your 25-year-old self and give him one piece of advice, what would you say to him?
Start this business now. I started business like when I was like 30-something, 37, 38 or whatever. And all I say is like it's unique. We're First Nation. We know every little inch of this land here. You know, all the plants, all the medicine, and you know how to help people heal, help people survive and thrive. And we're just try to share what we have and try to share the knowledge and stories and as much as possible and letting people try.
If you could go back in time to your 25-year-old self, knowing everything you know today at 54, what advice would you give him?
Travel. Stay clear of the mortgages. Go out, see the world, travel. Expose yourself to as many experiences as you possibly can, and then figure out which one of those you really want to focus on. But don't get into a rut early in life.
Follow your dreams. Follow that little feeling right in your gut, right just under your wishbone, and it'll tell you where to go.
You know, follow your heart and use your head and listen to your gut. There's good advice that I think it took me, longer than it should have maybe to accept that, because it is easy to get slipped into a machine and go with the flow until you realize, like, oh, I didn't even pick this career. It just happened to me. But really that voice inside of you, it's there. It's telling you what you actually want to do in life.
Everything in moderation.
That's a good one.
I think you can get caught up in whatever you're doing and you can do it too much. I think you need to stop and reassess every once in a while and just moderate.
There's a lot of anxieties in the world and you get stress. But when you suffer from stress, you just have to ask yourself, did it have any impact on changing the outcome about any of those events? It was always no for me. That's what I taught myself in the last 10 years. I wish I would have had that back then.
I wouldn't go back to being 25 for anybody's money, or 40, or even 50. I'm happy with the way life is now. My life has been full of experiences and stories and places I've been, and I like it. I don't need to go back.
If you had to give advice and insight to young people who are working in those jobs and feeling the way that you felt, how would you go about doing what you want to do?
Do not chase a career that you think is going to give you satisfaction and joy because it's going to pay you a lot of money or give you a certain amount of status. Figure out what it is you love doing. Pursue it passionately. It'll provide you a good, happy life. If you are miserable doing what you're doing, take a leap of faith and do something different.
Before I was working for the government, I was like a caged grizzly bear working for the government. It was just so frustrating, and I wasn't going nowhere. I was not happy. As a matter of fact, I ended up in the hospital because of the stress, because I was a single father working, and what's going to happen if something, what if I get, so it was stress. I had fantasy tour company on my spreadsheets on my computer, but I had no business. So I said, enough's enough. The only way you're going to learn, Joe, is jump in with your 2 feet. You only live once, make the most of it, and I went for it. And next thing you know, I remember there I had my business license, and yeah, I got a business. Going into business on my own was a different kind of a stress. I almost say it's a healthy stress. I was much more happy. I was doing what I wanted to do. What's BYOB stand for?
Bring your own beer.
Be your own boss. Be your own boss. And that means, if I have to translate one word, happiness. I'm meeting wonderful people from all over the world. I'm getting paid to go see the aurora. I'm getting paid to go canoe down the Mackenzie River. It's a happy life. It's stressful sometimes, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
What's something that you guys have learned about that lifestyle that most people who are, let's say, around the world, maybe listening to this, they're not realizing, they're not understanding?
Being in touch with nature daily, really, as a human, makes us tick. People are so used to noise that they don't even hear it anymore. And when you come out here, you realize that it's quiet. And I think that calms a lot of people down.
Yeah.
I think the more time you spend in nature, the better off you are. And I think you got to keep away from the busy. You do need time to relax.
We've seen that here with some of our guests that come to stay, that, the idea of being outside of cell service is an example. That can be very scary. 3 days later, to see that same person just totally chill their vibe and slow their roll, and wife say, thank you for giving my husband back, because I haven't seen them off their cell phone in like 15 years. I mean, to me, that really says there is a need. Whether you live full time out here, that's not everyone's cup of tea, but the idea of just coming to experiencing that and remembering that there are places in the world where you can unplug and you don't have to have every 5 minute schedule. Just the limits on your distractions, just the nature of not being internet or cell service, and it's just this kind of unplug. You don't need your calendar, you don't need a phone. We're just going to take a minute, and time is really enjoyable when you do that, right? And you kind of lose track of it a bit too.
The world doesn't always need you.
Yeah, right. That is also a cultural thing that, I was raised that way, to understand you shouldn't pre-schedule your time like we do now. Booking meetings 2 weeks from now and deciding where you're going to go in 3 days, that's not traditionally how people live their life. And it's kind of nicer to just deal with your immediates. How do you feel right now? What is it you want? What do you need? You want food? We'll feed, we'll eat. Just simplify it.
If I want to get to where you are today, I want to feel the way you feel. What is your advice or recipe for that?
Keep active. Keep involved. Do what you like if it's at all possible. If you like it, stay at it.
Say yes. If you don't try, you don't know. Prime Minister would phone and say, Ione, we'd like you to be the senator. And I'd say, oh, God, my husband, who was very, very supportive of everything I did, he'd say, you better try. You can always come home. And that was his philosophy. And it worked.
You've got to try different things. Don't ever stay stagnant, because if you don't try something new, you're never going to fail. And if you never fail, you're never going to learn. I've done some good failures in the past few years, and I'm learning from those failures.
At the moment, you feel like you figured things out?
No, I'm figuring it out as I go along. I wish I could be all wise and everything, not even close.
It is wise not to have figured it out.
I kind of figure that if I've gotten to the point that I've figured out my life, then that's when I'll be going on to the next journey.
Just keep soldiering on. You might not get what you first thought you wanted, but you may end up with something that you're very proud of doing.
We spent about 9 days in this part of the world. I have to say, some of the most surprising 9 days of my life. And what I've learned the most is that community is what makes a place really great. If you got the right people around you, things will be great. And that was really cool. I never thought about that before. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got a lot out of this one. If you're ever planning to come to Canada, visit travel.destinationcanada.com, link in the description, for the best resources possible. And if you ever go to the north, make sure to say hi to these people for me. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.